Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. I'm Tennessee Fats, and today we're going to do something just a little bit different. So everybody get your safety blankets and get ready for this one, because this is going to be a little weird for our regular viewers. Typically what we do on the channel when we hit a Conan story, and I'm doing a review for you guys, I say, listen, here's what happened. I flip the camera around, we look at the pages, we go through it page by page, and I say, this is exactly how the story ended. So at the end of the whole thing, you know, really, if you did not want to go and buy the book, you now have a complete synopsis of it. Or if you couldn't find it, you now have access to at least cover it. Well, we're not doing that today. Not at all. I just full stop, gone. Doing none of it. Instead, I'm just going to give you guys, listen, here's the book. Here's the theme cover to the book. And here's two particular aspects that I want you guys to watch out for. Because at the end of the video, I want you to go find this one on your own. I read this one with zero sense of what actually happens in it. And there's a reason for that. It's because, well, quite frankly, but I could find absolutely nothing online that actually told me about it. You know, little issue with the internet, just a small one. But what it made for was an experience like this. As I turned the pages out, that's kind of cool. And then, well, I didn't see that coming. And then finally, when you put the whole thing down, you went, wow, that was really cool. I want you to have the same experience. So without any further ado, without any spoilers, let's get into it. All right. Whoa, easy. The chair's like a bucking bronco for crying out loud. Okay, so it's not too often that I get out there and actually head too far away from my home. And the reason for that is I'm fairly tied to this location for a variety of reasons that, well, I'm not going to get into here. So when I do get a chance and I can go out and I can spend a couple days in a different town, what I generally do is I say, let's head into the local comic shop and I'll do some snooping for some barbarian gold. Now, barbarian gold, for those of you who are wondering, is a little different than regular gold. Because what you do is you pull out your little inner Yukon Cornelius and you lick your pickaxe, throw it up in the air, it hits the ground. Generally you yell, wahoo, while you're doing it. And when you're done, you taste it again. And if you taste gold, it's there. Generally without the bumble stone. That's right. Now, for those of you who actually got that deep cut, you're welcome. Anyways, I went into a local comic shop this last week when I was in Ottawa. And I spent most of my time when I first got into the shop doing a little bit of this. Because the walls were covered in books that, well, I've never actually seen in person before. I've seen pictures of them. I'm not too sure. You see them in the comics price guide deals. Great. But try seeing them in real life. It just doesn't happen. So I spent most of my time going, Then I wandered into the back and I found a box. It's a little box. And it was full of magazines. Now, I know most of you right now are already going to go to snuff magazines. And it wasn't full of snuff magazines. Thank you very much. It's all there. A little bit of Vampirella, which is always good. A little bit of Cracked, which is always funny. A little bit of Mad, which is hilarious. And then, the angels go off because suddenly you run into a box of Savage Sword of Conan. And some Conan Saga. Now, Savage Sword issues were around the, 160 to 190 range, which were good, don't get me wrong, but I already own them, right? Conan Saga, I think that was in the 20s and 30s. I already own them. But when I'm going through, I find this. This is what we're talking about today. Take a good look. Take a good look now. Marvel graphic novel. I believe this is the 28th Marvel graphic novel that they put out. Came out in 1989. All right. Story by Don Crard, not Dan. And art by Marie and John Severin. Now, Marie and John Severin, for those of you who don't know, if you've watched some of my other videos, in fact, we can put a link right over here, did a fair amount of work on Call the Conqueror. Call, you say? Oh, I did not know that. Look, yeah, they did. Yeah. So this story, though, is about Conan. All right. And it is a self-contained, square-bound. All right. And this is a reader copy, obviously. It's got a little warp to it. It's got all sorts of nicks on the corner. So what do I care? I'm actually going to read it and enjoy it. And it's a full-color, self-contained story. Look at that. So we're not going into the full story, though. Not today. No. So let's talk about the theme that is covered in this particular. Let's just sit back here with Uncle Tennessee Fats on this bucking bronco chair and have a chat about what actually happens in this book. So, how do I say this without spoiling the entire story for you? Because there are certain little loopholes in this that kind of integral to how the story works. But let's just go with generalities here, shall we? I'm going to start off by saying something which is going to have a lot of people probably typing comments down below over the next coming years when they actually watch this video. It's non-canon, okay? That is the definitive Tennessee Fats statement of the day. I do not believe this story to be Conan canon, okay? And here's why I say that. there are certain characters, in fact, well, actually, no, two particular characters in this that aren't quite portrayed here the way that you've seen them in prior Conan the Barbarian Marvel books back around issue 30 to 40, somewhere around there. I believe you actually don't, again, I believe there's Savage Sword issues that involve those same characters, I believe in the late 70s. Again, not matching what I'm seeing here. So that's my statement, non-canon. You want to argue with that? Well, let me know. And maybe if we're going to have a conversation about it, maybe we'll do a live stream about it or something. Anyways, the story is, again, no spoilers, huh? Okay. Conan is trying to steal the entire royal treasury in the capital of Agrapur in the nation of Turan. There you go. That is your setup. Hijinks ensue. Now that would be how you would write this in a 1980s sitcom, right? But that's not actually what happens. Hijinks do ensue, but there's also a lot of bad things that ensues as well. That's effectively the story. So you know Conan is trying to steal something, and I believe that is where they get the name Conan the Reaver story from, because, well, he's out there doing things that would typically be associated with that kind of a title. The behavior matches what you're looking at here in the title. So that's the book. Kind of an interesting one. It's a thick one. It is self-contained, and as I say, non-canonical. So you can read this without worrying about, where does it fit in the actual timeline? Doesn't matter. You don't have to read the other stuff and say, oh, well, I have to have read that Conan the Reaver story back then because I'm reading a book from 1989. No, not true, because guess what? This actually doesn't tie into it. So kind of a neat book. Neat sort of way to put it together. High gloss pages. Yeah, I think that's enough of a description of the actual book and the theme itself. So now you know, square-bound, Marvel graphic novel. You'll probably find it for about $5. Well, at least in this condition. All right. Okay, we're back. Aspect one of this book that was really, really cool, which I think should be a seller for you guys, is the actual art itself, okay? John and Marie Severin. Now, I mentioned their names earlier, and I mentioned them for a reason. They're phenomenal, okay? Granted, I've already made all sorts of comments that I'm a big Barry Windsor Smith fan, I'm a John Buscema fan, I'm an early Chan fan. But this duo threw together some of the pivotal Kull the Conqueror, King Kull, Kull the Destroyer stories for me. And it's in the detail. It really is. And it's funny. So for those of you who watched that link that I clicked with earlier, this book here collects all the Kull the Conqueror stories, all right? And the art in this, and we're not going to look at art today, okay? Because I don't want to spoil anything for you guys. The art in these, particularly I think it's Kull number 1 through, I think 3. They were at their peak in creativity. And it's amazing. They seem to hit that and they just held it. They've just been steadily pouring out material. It's just genius. And I'm going to say this, and I'm not going to say this lightly. I find the work they do to be very close to Hal Foster. Okay? Now, for Hal, those of you who don't know, Hal Foster is of Prince Valiant fame. All right? I strongly encourage any of you who do not know who Hal Foster is to go out there and pick up the large-scale, hardcover Hal Foster Prince Valiant stories that are the original reprints of the newspapers that were put out of that particular title. And I gotta tell you, I have a couple of them, and there are times where I just open them up, put them down on the desk, and I am just amazed by the detail and just the level of accuracy that is within those. John and Marie Severin do exactly that. The detail, the individual links in chain link armor or chain mail armor, sorry, not chain link, that's a fence, duh. But chain mail armor. I mean, the rivets in a helmet. The notch is, okay, a sword. This is a pivotal one. Watch for this. A sword with a notch in it. Yeah, like it's there. That level of detail is there. And it's funny because they have a very characteristic art style where when you look at it, shading is done in such a way that you can recognize their work instantaneously. And it is all throughout this. And because it is a larger format, okay, it's not, this is handy. It's not this size, it's this size. Because it is a larger format, you're getting so much more detail in this than you would on those smaller panels. So the art, which I think, I mean, let's just take a look at the highlight there on the cover. Yeah, it goes throughout. You're not looking at something where it's a bait and switch where the cover's really, really awesome and then the inside sucks. This, art-wise, this is gold. Yeah. Okay, aspect 2. Whoa. See? I told you it was trying to kill me. All right. Aspect 2, and this is the other kicker one. Now, I've already told you the art in this is really good. Well, what's the other part of any comic story that makes it really good? It's the writing. I know. Some of you were mentioning like transmissions. That doesn't even apply here. It's the writing, okay? The writing is pivotal to making a story. Now, writing can make a character awesome. Writing can make a character absolutely horrendous. And we've seen that on this channel before. We've discussed this very issue before. It's not what happens here. Don Carr. Now, when I picked this up, Don Carr, obviously the author, and I'm like, I don't know much about this fella. And looking into it and having people comment to me, it sounds like we were seeing a fair amount of Savage Sword coming up from this particular author. I don't know if that's the truth or not, but I certainly hope it is, because now that I know, I will start actually going and looking for those to find, what was it that he wrote? Let's read that too. And the reason is this, and I'll tell you, this is a story of subtleties. And this is something I warn you. When you buy this book and you sit down to read it, do not read it lightly. You'll look at this and you'll say, okay, well, listen, it's only this thick, right? I should be able to get through this in about an hour. And you could. You honestly could get through this in probably about 15 or 20 minutes. The problem is you're going to miss things. And I did. I tell you, I did. And I had to go back pages sometimes. I'd be going and I'm like, wait a minute, didn't I see that person before? Right. So there are very subtle little nuances in this that are specifically written in, that John and Marie Severin obviously captured perfectly, but it's also in the dialogue. The subtleties that are in this are such that it will hold you into the story if you're paying attention. And when you get to the end, you'll be like, oh, really? Trust me. It's very important that when you're going through this one, you read it slowly, you look at the panels, and you fully understand what is happening, because Don, when he did this, really planned this well. That's all I'm going to say about it. No more spoilers. No spoilers. I'm stopping right there. Okay, so as I said, we're going to keep this one really quick because I didn't want this to be long and involved. And honestly, I did not want to be drawing out and actually ruining this one for the rest of you. I wanted you to go out and find this on your own and enjoy it on your own. I've told you, the art on this one, John and Marie Severin. If you want to see a sample of it, go pick up one of these. Look at call number 1 through 4 just for a sample of their art, because I'm sure you'll have it handy before you can get your hands on this. Because I'm not showing you this, because I'm not spoiling it. And the writing. I gotta tell you, y'all know I'm crazy about a story that's got layers. Y'all know I'm crazy about an onion or an ogre, because I'm pretty sure if you peel an onion, it'll scream like an ogre. I think that's what that idiom actually means. Never mind that now. But you know I'm crazy about it. And you know a story's really good where when you're done, you step back and you go, wow. Okay, when I was 10 pages in, I did not see that coming. This was well done. So everybody, I hope you enjoyed this video. It's a little different in style for us. Normally we're spending more time visually looking at books, but we're not doing that today. We'll see you in the next video. Have yourself a great day. All right. Okay, it's time for an end credit scene here. For those of you who stuck around this long, I think you've earned a bit of a Tennessee Fats story. Now, I don't get to story too much. I honestly don't. We go off on a lot of tangents and idioms on the channel, but I don't really get to story too much. And there are certain things that I find quite funny, which I guarantee nobody else on the planet finds funny. But this one, well, I'm going to tell you the story anyways, and you can decide whether you find it funny. Because I got to tell you, I was literally laughing so hard on the inside, I was crying. Tears, okay? I go down to Buffalo this week. Because I says to myself, Tennessee fans, you have not seen enough minor league baseball. You got to get your butt out there, and you should go check out, you know, these Buffalo Bisons. This Blue Jays farm team. Get your butt on down there. It's only 2 hours away. Enjoy an opening game, because I think I bought tickets to the second game of the season. So I get down there. I've got my tickets. They're on my phone. I've parked. I've paid for everything I need to do. I've had a great time, by the way, and everybody should go to the Anchor Bar and try the original Buffalo wings. Buffalo wings? Yes, the original Buffalo wings. You should try them. They're quite good. Yeah. Anyways, I park and I walk up and I go past the one box office and I'm like, and I see signs, but there's nobody around and the game's supposed to be starting in about half an hour. I'm thinking, seems to be very little as far as people showing up to actually see a minor league game. This is in a sports city. I would have expected more. So I walk around the other side of the box office, and as I'm walking along, I see a sign that says that the game that I'm planning on attending has been canceled. Well, it just so happens that the game the day before, their actual season opener, was also canceled. Now, both of these were inclement weather. This is not their fault, okay? So I walk up to the wicket. And for those of you who don't know, I'm Canadian. So as a Canadian, I actually do live up to the stereotype of most of the time being ridiculously polite. And I say to the box office guy, I say, listen, bud. I did say bud, which is actually quintessentially Canadian as well. I said, listen, bud, I've got the tickets. I'm not going to be able to rebook for a game later in the season. I'm not going to be back here later this season. I'll try this again next year when there's a new season going on. Can you give me a refund on the way we go? And the guy does a great job. By the way, thumbs up to the Buffalo Bisons for their excellent customer service. I got to tell you, bar none, some of the best dialogue and the most receptive people I've spoken to in a long, long time when you're actually politely handling a customer. I guess it's a complaint in this case, but it's not their fault. They can't handle the weather. It's not their fault. Anyway, so I'm there and I'm doing my thing, and people are coming up at the wicket beside me and they're exchanging their tickets, and I'm taking my time, and I'm having a nice long conversation with a fellow behind me who's admiring my Converse, and we're chatting about Converse, and they're doing my refund, and the whole thing is over, and I've had this wonderful experience, and everybody's been ridiculously polite. And I'm thinking to myself, such pleasant people here. This is so strange. I did not expect this when people should have heightened senses of just frayed nerves at this point in time. And as I'm just about to turn around and walk away, this old fellow walks up. And it's funny. And I say old fellow because I literally looked at him and I thought, wow, that dude is old. Well, that dude, when I actually took a second look at him, was just about my age. And I was like, ooh, okay, I got to stop judging people that way. Anyway, he comes up and he goes, what, is today's game canceled too? And I looked at him and I said, yeah, fella, it is. And this is the amazing thing. Now, I think, for the most part, and people who know me often make fun of me for this very reason, I think I have a fairly good filter between here and here. And granted, I turn it off a lot because oftentimes I just don't care. Clear evidence of this fellow not having any sort of filter between here and here, or he had turned his off, because the guy turns around and without even, like, I'm talking milliseconds after I finish saying fella, he turns around and he goes, and with a beautiful, beautiful accent, for what? He just turns and goes right at the wicket, like literally like a lion pouncing into the wicket to turn around and just rip these poor people behind it. I was like, and I'm sitting there thinking, wow, that was a quick juxtaposition of all these pleasant experiences. And then this, and then I thought to myself, so that's what I'm like when the filter's off. Yeah. And that was the moment when I had an actual aha realization for me, Tennessee Fats. And honestly, the whole walk back to the car, tears of laughter at just the lunacy that I had just experienced. So funny. Now, most of you are not going to find that funny. You're going to say, Tennessee Fats, that's stupid. So some guy yelled for it. No, it's the for what? It was just beautiful. Everybody, if you stuck around for the Tennessee Fats story of the day, I hope you enjoyed that one. Oh, it still makes me chuckle to this moment, actually. Guy was nuts. Anyways, have a good one, everybody.